No one believed cubs understood mercy until they stood guard over the humans' enemies, asleep in chains. The Vorath warship had crashed 3 days ago, and the prisoners were still breathing. This fact alone had confused every adult member of the Kelari pack. The Vorath had burned 17 of their villages. They had taken cubs for experiments. They had laughed while doing it. Now 5 of them slept in chains inside the cargo hold of the human vessel, Quiet Thunder, and the human captain named Marcus Cole had ordered that no one touch them. Elder Vecran could not understand. His claws itched with the need to tear into the scaled flesh of those monsters. Every Kalari on board felt the same burning hatred. Their fur stood on end whenever they passed the cargo hold. Their teeth ground together at night, but Marcus had said no. The human had pulled Vecran aside on the first night and spoken in that strange, soft voice that humans used when they meant something deeply. He said that the Vorath were prisoners now. He said they would face a trial. He said there was something called justice that required patience. Vecran had growled low in his throat. Justice was a claw through the heart. Justice was blood for blood. Every species in the galaxy knew this simple truth. Every species except humans. The cubs had watched this exchange from behind a supply crate. There were 7 of them, ranging from 6 seasons to 12 seasons old. They had lost parents to the Vorath raids. They had seen things that no young eyes should see. Their small bodies carried scars, and their dreams carried screams. The eldest cub was named Tira. She was 12 seasons, nearly old enough to be considered an adult. Her left ear was torn from when a Vorath soldier had grabbed her during the last raid. She had escaped only because a human soldier named Sergeant Yuki had shot the Vorath through the skull. Tira hated the Vorath more than any adult could imagine. Her hatred was fresh and raw and burning. It kept her warm at night when the memories came. So when she heard Marcus explain mercy to Vecran, something strange happened inside her chest. A small crack appeared in the wall of her hatred. Not because she understood mercy, but because she wanted to understand why a creature as powerful as a human would choose it. The second night was harder than the first. The Kalari adults could not sleep. They paced the corridors of the ship, their claws clicking against metal floors. Twice, Vecran had to stop pack members from approaching the cargo hold with weapons hidden under their fur. Marcus noticed. He did not sleep either. He sat outside the cargo hold door with a cup of something hot and brown that humans called coffee. He did not guard the prisoners with a weapon drawn. He simply sat there, reading something on a small tablet, as if he had all the time in the universe. Tira watched him from the shadows. She did not understand how he could be so calm. Finally, she approached. Her small paws made almost no sound, but Marcus looked up anyway. Humans had strange senses. They could not smell fear or hear heartbeats like Kalari could, but they noticed things that others missed. Marcus smiled at her. It was a strange expression that showed teeth, but Tira had learned that human teeth showing meant friendship, not threat. She sat beside him without asking permission. For a long moment, neither of them spoke. Then Tira asked the question that had been burning inside her since the crash. She asked why. Why keep them alive? Why not let the pack have their revenge? Why show mercy to creatures who had shown none? Marcus was quiet for a very long time. He looked at his coffee, then at the closed door, then at the small cub beside him. When he finally spoke, his voice was tired but gentle. He told her a story about his own people. Long ago, humans had been just as savage as any other species. They had killed prisoners. They had tortured enemies. They had believed that strength meant cruelty, and they had nearly destroyed themselves because of it. Then something changed. Slowly, painfully, over many generations, humans learned a different truth. They learned that the measure of a people was not how they treated their friends, It was how they treated their enemies. It was easy to be kind to those who loved you. The true test came when you had power over those who had hurt you. Tira listened without moving. Her torn ear twitched slightly. Marcus continued. He said that mercy was not weakness. Mercy was the hardest kind of strength. It required you to hold your rage inside, to swallow your pain, to choose the difficult path when the easy path was right in front of you. Any creature could kill in anger. But to stay your hand when you had every right to strike? That was power. He also told her something else. He told her that mercy was not for the enemy. The Vorath prisoners did not deserve kindness. They had done terrible things and would face punishment for them. But mercy was not about what they deserved. Mercy was about who the Kalari wanted to become. If the pack killed helpless prisoners in chains, they would become something darker. They would carry that weight forever. Every future generation would inherit that legacy. But if they showed restraint, even when it hurt, they would prove something important. They would prove that the Vorath had not broken them. They would prove that hatred did not own them. Tira sat with these words for a long time. She thought about her parents, lost in the first raid. She thought about her torn ear and her nightmares. She thought about the rage that lived in her chest like a second heart. Then she thought about who she wanted to become. The third night brought trouble. A group of adult Kellery decided they would wait no longer. They gathered in secret, 12 of them, including 3 who had lost mates to the Vorath. They planned to move at midnight when the humans were in their rest cycle. They did not know that the cubs were watching. Tira had gathered the other 6 young ones earlier that day. She had shared what Marcus told her, though she stumbled over some words and had to explain others in simpler terms. The youngest cubs did not fully understand. But they trusted Tira, and Tira trusted the human. So when the 12 adults crept toward the cargo hold with hidden blades, they found something unexpected blocking their path. 7 cubs stood in a line before the door. Tira was in the center, her torn ear held high, her young eyes steady. The other 6 flanked her on either side. They were small, they were young, they were afraid, but they did not move. Elder Vekran, who led the group, stopped in shock. His claws, already extended, slowly retracted. He stared at the cubs as if they had grown second heads. He demanded to know what they were doing. His voice was sharp with confusion and growing anger. Tira answered. Her voice shook slightly, but her words were clear. She said they were guarding the prisoners. She said the prisoners would face human justice. She said that killing helpless creatures in chains would make the Kalari no better than the Vorath. One of the adults, a female named Sora, who had lost 3 cubs to Vorath experiments, surged forward. She bared her teeth and asked if Tira had forgotten what the Vorath had done, if she had forgotten the burning villages and the stolen children and the screams. Tira met her eyes. She said she remembered everything. She said she would remember until her last breath. Then she touched her torn ear, the one the Vorath soldier had damaged. She said that was exactly why she was standing here. The Vorath had taken so much from them, their homes, their families, their peace. If the Kalari killed prisoners in cold blood, the Vorath would take something else. They would take the Kalari's soul. They would prove that violence was the only answer, that cruelty was the natural state of all beings, that mercy was impossible. Tira refused to let them win that final victory. Her words hung in the corridor like smoke. The adults stood frozen, their blades suddenly heavy in their paws. Some looked at each other with uncertainty. Others stared at the cubs with something that might have been shame. Sora was the first to lower her weapon. Tears ran through the fur on her face. She did not agree with the cubs. She still wanted blood, but she could not bring herself to push past children to get it. One by one, the others backed away. Vekran was the last. He looked at Tira for a long moment. His old eyes filled with complicated emotions. Then he nodded once, slowly, and turned to leave. The cubs stood guard until sunrise. Marcus found them there in the morning, 7 small forms huddled together against the cold metal door. Some had fallen asleep on their feet. Others sat with their backs against the wall, exhausted but watchful. Tira was still awake. Her eyes were heavy, but she forced them to stay open. Marcus knelt in front of her. He did not say anything at first. He just looked at her with an expression she had never seen before. It was something beyond respect. It was something like hope. Finally, he asked how she knew to do this. Tira thought about the question. Then she gave the only answer that felt true. She said that humans had shown her people mercy when the Vorath attacked. Humans had given them shelter and medicine and protection. Humans had treated Kellery refugees like family, not strangers. She wanted to be worthy of that gift. Marcus placed his hand on her head, a gesture of warmth among humans. When he spoke, his voice was thick with emotion. He said that the Kellery had just proven something important to the galaxy. He said that mercy could be taught, could be learned, could be chosen even by those with every reason to reject it. He said that the cubs had done something that many grown beings never managed to do. They had broken the cycle. Later that day, the story spread through the ship. The human crew learned what had happened, and they looked at the cubs with new eyes. The adult Kellery were quiet, many of them lost in thought, reconsidering things they had believed for their entire lives. And in the cargo hold, 5 Vorath prisoners slept in chains, unaware that 7 children had just saved their lives. Not because the children loved them, not because they forgave them, but because the children wanted to become something better than their enemies had ever imagined possible. When the trial finally came 3 months later, the Vorath were convicted and sentenced. Justice was served through laws and evidence and careful judgment, not through blood and rage. The Kellery watched the proceedings with complex emotions. Some still wished for the old ways. But they understood now that the humans offered something different, something harder, something that might, in time, build a better galaxy. Tira grew up to become the first Kellery ambassador to human space. She carried the scar on her ear for the rest of her life, but she also carried something else. A memory of standing guard in a dark corridor, afraid and tired and uncertain, choosing mercy when mercy seemed impossible. She never forgot that night. And she made sure her people never forgot either. Because that was the true power of mercy. It lived on. It spread. It changed things in ways that violence never could. And it had all started with 7 cubs who refused to move.